The bomb that exploded in Stockholm, killing 123 people and injuring another 265, is the latest example of extreme Islamic terrorism under the auspices of ISIL. The 32-year-old female suicide bomber was reported to hail from Lancashire and to have been trained in Syria. Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven insisted the country's openness to other civilizations and the December 2014 cross-party consensus on freezing out Sweden Democrats, the anti-immigration party, were not under threat. Dear viewer, was your first reaction on hearing the paragraph above, "Oh my God, how did I miss the story in the news?" Actually, I invented the incident. It is not true. But I'm sure you didn't think, on hearing the first paragraph, what an unlikely scenario. We now expect atrocities in our midst. Yet they're not new. Not that long ago, ETA in Spain, the Red Brigades in Italy, Baader-Meinhof in Germany, and the IRA in the UK were active. They came to an end, and in some way that we cannot yet envisage, so will these attacks from extreme Islam. After the financial crisis of 2008 and its aftermath, the gloomy forecast was that globalization would be under threat, with protectionist policies leading to ever higher tariff barriers and ultimately a dire trade situation similar to the years between World War I and II. However, physical goods have not been the target, nor foreign direct investment. Witness grateful European governments selling a host of companies to the Chinese. It has, however, impacted the availability of capital as banks retreat to their home markets and to servicing multinationals. But the category most affected is people, or what economists call labour. For those left behind by globalization, bereft of skills and insecure, and others who are uncomfortable in a multiracial, multinational world, blaming immigrants is an easy option. They no longer need hide their opinions, but are warmly embraced into single-issue parties like UKIP, or France's National Front, or the Dutch Freedom Party. It is unarguable that there has been an increase in inequality in the West, as asset prices increase faster than GDP and wages. Even if it is a more nuanced situation than author Thomas Piketty argued in his influential 2013 book, Capital in the 21st Century, the perception exists among society at large. For too many years now, companies have used the excuse of global competition and economic stagnation to keep salaries stagnant or to cut them. Piketty showed that there had been a decline in the real US minimum wage. A year ago, it was 28% below its 1969 peak at purchasing power parity. Meanwhile, in the UK, real take-home pay is set to continue lagging behind pre-crisis levels into 2017, according to the E&Y Item Club. This means a lot in terms of the effect on consumer spending. Big corporations are sitting on massive piles of cash. The S&P 500 minus financials, in essence the US corporate sector, is sitting on cash balances of $1.37 trillion compared to $600 billion in 2007. So is much of the European blue chip sector. Mark Carney, Governor of the Bank of England, calls those funds dead money. Investors talk about whether it will be spent on investments or returning money to them via dividends and share buybacks. In fact, those funds need to be shared with workers. British Prime Minister David Cameron, in his last term, announced a rise in the minimum wage. The reasons for doing so may have been dismissed as politicking before an election, but in fact, wages do need to rise. An increase in economic prosperity for those with non-movable skills will create a feel-good factor. It will help undermine the appeal of the parties whose main message is hate. It will lead to increased consumption, it will undermine the politics of envy, and it will be a worthwhile grain of sand in the multifaceted fight against Islamic extremism and its dire consequences.